Near-death experience, a meeting with Jesus Christ and the journey of transformation. Welcome to a world of mystery and wonder. Have you ever wondered, is death truly the end, or merely a doorway to a mystical reality we have yet to comprehend? On this channel, I will guide you through strange and fascinating near-death experiences, where those who stood at the brink of life and death return to share stories that science cannot explain. Get ready for experiences beyond imagination, mysterious lights, extraordinary encounters, and supernatural phenomena you've never heard of before. Each video is a journey into a realm where the natural laws are defied, and one thing is certain: you won't be able to look away. If you love thrilling stories, if you want to dive deeper into the mysteries of death and the wonders that lie beyond, don't miss a single video. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss out on this exciting adventure. Are you ready? Near-death experiences, conversions, and the truth about love and sex. My name is Adrian Blackwood, and my story begins with an event I can never forget, a near-death experience that changed my life forever. But to understand the profound change, I need to tell you a little about my past. Before I encountered Jesus Christ, I had lived the life of a gay man. A life that I thought I was searching for freedom, happiness, and truth. I never thought I would have to face profound questions about myself and the world. My life seemed complete. I had friends, a stable job, and several relationships filled with affection. I felt like I had found my own path, and it was the only right path. But my life was not what it seemed on the outside. I lived with desires and passions, never considering the consequences. I never truly faced deep questions about the purpose of my life, about true love, or about God. I was not seeking peace of mind or a connection with a higher power. I was only looking for temporary pleasures and acceptance from those around me. Then one day, an accident occurred. A serious accident that left me badly injured, and in that moment, I experienced clinical death. It felt like I was leaving my body, as if I was stepping into another realm, far from this world. I found myself moving through a dark tunnel, with no light, no sound, only a deep stillness. It's hard to describe that feeling, but I felt a strange peace, as though I was leaving behind all the pain and worries of life. I remember that moment vividly. I was driving home after a tiring day at work when the dim streetlights reflected off the windshield. Everything was calm, until suddenly, a truck crashed into my car. The world seemed to collapse in that split second. I quickly swerved, but it was too late. The crash exploded in my ears, followed by a silence. Everything seemed to stop. When the car was hit hard, I felt myself thrown from my seat, my body feeling weightless. In that brief moment, I felt no pain. All sense of time and space seemed to disappear. Everything around me blurred, and all that remained was a feeling of emptiness, as if I was floating in mid-air. I couldn't shape my body, but I sensed a strange lightness, as if I was drifting somewhere, far from this world. After the impact, I completely lost consciousness. There was no more pain, no more sensation of my body. Everything around me seemed to fade away in a wordless stillness. At that moment, I couldn't distinguish between reality and a dream. But one thing I knew for sure: I was no longer alive. Gradually, I felt myself floating, as if I was separating from my physical body. I couldn't see my body, but I clearly sensed that I was no longer a person with physical limitations. I couldn't hear any sounds, but something was pulling me forward, an invisible force, like a gentle current guiding me ahead. I felt no fear, no panic, only peace. At times, I sensed faint images, memories flickering through my mind, but they were unclear. It felt like I was in an invisible realm, where everything was no longer physical objects. It was an absolute feeling of freedom, no longer bound by anything. Then, I felt a powerful pull, as if a force was drawing me into another space. The surroundings around me changed magically. At first, there was a faint light, then gradually, it became bright, warm, and inviting. This light was unlike ordinary light. It had a certain power that I couldn't describe. Even though I didn't understand why, I knew I had to move toward it, as if it was my destination. As I drew closer, I realized I was not alone. Faint images began to appear, figures I recognized, people I had loved but who were now gone. They said nothing, just standing there, smiling, as if welcoming me. A warm, loving feeling filled my heart. I felt that I was returning home, to a place that was both foreign and deeply familiar. In that moment, I felt no pain, no anxiety, and no fear. There was only absolute peace, with no distinction between time and space. Everything around me seemed to merge into an invisible light, yet very real. I felt as though I was a part of the universe, a part of endless life, with no separation, no end. As I continued my journey in that invisible realm, a strange presence began to envelop me. I cannot describe the warmth I felt. Amid the dim light, a figure appeared. At first, I couldn't recognize it, but then the image gradually became clearer. A man, unlike anyone I had ever met, yet possessing a strange strength and beauty. He stood there, in a brilliant light, but it didn't overwhelm me. Jesus Christ. I didn't need to think twice, because I instantly knew it was him. His appearance didn't resemble any of the worship images I had seen on earth, but it radiated an absolute calm and serenity. He wore a bright white robe, his long hair, and his face emanated compassion and love. His eyes shone brightly, as if holding an entire universe within them, and that gaze looked directly into mine, as if he saw deep into my soul. There were no words from him at that moment, but I could feel the presence of a boundless love. I didn't need to ask, I didn't need to say anything, because I felt that he understood me immediately. The feeling I had at that moment cannot be described in words. I felt loved, accepted, and deeply comforted. All worries, fears, and doubts seemed to vanish. All that remained was a sense of absolute peace, as if I had returned home. Jesus didn't speak immediately, but I felt a flow of love coming from him, like a wordless message being conveyed into my mind. When he did speak, his voice wasn't loud, but it was powerful, full of authority, and warm. He didn't speak about religious doctrines or dry rules. Instead, he spoke of love. "Adrian," he said, and that sound echoed in my soul, "you have found the truth in the painful moments of your life. But you still don't fully understand the great love you can offer to others. Remember that love is not just the emotion you feel for those you love, but it is sacrifice, forgiveness, and unconditional kindness. That is how you will find salvation." These words were like a beam of light shining into my soul. I understood that, throughout my life, I had lived with personal desires, always seeking recognition and self-satisfaction. But now, I realized that the true truth wasn't about what I had or achieved, but how I lived in love and forgiveness toward those around me. He spoke not only about love, but also about forgiveness. "You must forgive, Adrian," he continued. "Forgive yourself, forgive the mistakes you've made, and forgive those who have hurt you. Only when you truly forgive can you walk in the light of God and find peace within your soul." His words were so profound that I felt as though I was being cleansed from within, as if the burdens of the past had been lifted. The wrong decisions, the selfish things I had done, now became valuable lessons, but no longer clung to me. I felt a relief in realizing that I could live a new life, a life filled with love and forgiveness. Finally, he emphasized an important point: choose truth over personal desires. Do not let material temptations lead you astray. Only when you find truth in love will you find the path to redemption. As these words echoed in my mind, I felt an inner strength rising, a strength I had never felt before. Love and forgiveness were not just theories, but a real change in how I viewed the world and those around me. I understood that from this moment forward, I had to live a new life, no longer for myself alone, but for others, for the unconditional love that Jesus had taught me. And then, like a gentle breeze, he began to fade, but that sense of love and peace remained within me. I didn't need to say thank you, because I knew I had received everything I needed: forgiveness, love, and the guiding light. After my encounter with Jesus, I felt as if a new light had shone upon my life, but at the same time, I could not avoid facing the bigger questions about myself. His words still echoed in my mind, especially about love, forgiveness, and choosing truth over personal desires. And in that moment, I began reflecting on the choices I had made throughout my life. As a gay man, I had lived in a world where personal freedom and love were always at odds with the values I had grown up with. I always felt like an outsider, as though something was wrong with me loving someone of the same gender. For many years, I struggled with myself, always feeling guilty, as if I were living a secret that I couldn't share with anyone. Now, standing before the absolute truth of love that Jesus had conveyed, I felt confused and didn't know what to do. Guilt was not the only thing I had to face. There was also regret, the moments I hadn't lived true to myself, the times I had hidden my feelings and emotions to please others. I wondered if my choices were right, whether I was wrong for living the way I felt, or if I was abandoned in a world that didn't accept my truth. I couldn't deny that I felt lost in my own life, but I also couldn't escape the genuine love I had for those I cared about. As I continued my journey, I realized that I wasn't the only one struggling with questions about choices in life. Around me, there were other souls, each carrying their own burdens and struggles. Some, like me, felt guilty for things they had done, choices they had made, and relationships they had nurtured. They were also seeking forgiveness, and in this light, I saw a deep similarity in our souls. All of us were seeking salvation, acceptance, and peace in life. I saw another man, standing there, his eyes full of anxiety. He didn't dare look at those around him, as if he felt unworthy of love. A familiar feeling rose within me as I saw him. He was like I once was. My heart ached when I thought about the life he had lived, the choices he had made, and the struggles he was facing. But as I got closer, I saw him gradually accepting what had happened, just as I had learned to do myself. Another soul was a woman, seemingly struggling with things she had done in the past. She couldn't forgive herself for mistakes she felt had hurt others. I saw, through the glimmering light in her eyes, that she had learned an important lesson, that forgiveness didn't only come from others but also from within herself. She was seeking freedom from the haunting memories of the past, just as I was trying to free myself from guilt and confusion. Seeing these souls, I felt something I had never truly understood before. Each one of us is seeking reconciliation and understanding. We are all lost beings, carrying burdens and wrong choices, but we can also learn to forgive and find peace when we dare face the truth of ourselves. From these souls, I learned that no choice in life is perfect. We all make mistakes, but what matters is finding a way to make peace with ourselves. We need to forgive, not just others but also ourselves, so that we can continue walking in the light of love and redemption. These souls don't need to be perfect. They only need to realize that truth and love are what truly matter, and when we embrace this truth, we find true freedom. I came to understand that no matter who I am or how I've lived, I am worthy of love and forgiveness. As I continued to reflect on what I experienced in the afterlife, I began to realize that love was not what I always thought I understood. In the past, I viewed love as an emotion, a connection between myself and others, anyone I felt close to or cared about. But after encountering Jesus, I understood that true love stems from a profound divine truth, from God's plan for humanity. Love is not merely physical attraction but a spiritual and soulful connection. Jesus showed me that true love is not just about sharing happy moments but also about sacrifice, patience, and forgiveness. He revealed that this divine love is not confined by any form or gender but is all-encompassing, transcending the barriers of the physical world. True love is when we live in alignment with our essence and God's plan. When I reflected on the same-sex relationships I had pursued over the years, I began to realize that I hadn't fully understood love in the way God intended. Many of the choices and relationships I built were focused on desire and immediate gratification rather than living in pure and sacred love. After realizing the truth about love and God's plan, I started reflecting on the decisions I made in the past, particularly in my same-sex relationships. Those relationships gave me a fleeting sense of love and connection, but the more I looked back, the more I felt a deep void within my soul. I felt as though I was living outside the purpose God created for me. Those relationships led me astray from the path God intended, leaving me with a sense of lack within myself. Although those relationships brought me joy and comfort for a time, I began to realize that they didn't help me grow spiritually. Instead of building solid relationships based on understanding, sacrifice, and true love, I focused on fleeting, easily changing, and unsustainable things. This affected my spiritual well-being, leaving me feeling lacking and exhausted, as though I was searching for something I couldn't grasp. When I confronted these thoughts, I felt a deep pain, not because I regretted those relationships but because I realized I hadn't lived according to the purpose God laid out for me. I saw that I hadn't aligned with the divine nature of love that He desired, and it left me feeling a sense of loss, as if I had lost a vital part of my path. But in that realization, I also felt a glimmer of hope. I recognized that the truth of divine love and the connection God offers me is not something unattainable. If I accept and live according to His plan, I can heal the wounds in my soul and rediscover peace. While I cannot change the past, I can change how I live from now on, striving toward a true love, a love that brings not only personal fulfillment but also a profound connection with God and those around me. The key is to live in truth and harmony with God's plan, understanding that divine love is not just a physical connection but a soulful one, a lasting, enduring relationship filled with hope. When I achieve this, I know I will find my way back to myself and to God. When I stood before Jesus, He offered me a choice that I knew would change my life forever. He told me I could stay in the afterlife, where I felt absolute peace and unconditional love, or I could return to earth to continue the life I had been living, carrying the lessons and truths about divine love that I had just received. My heart was heavy, torn between staying in the serenity of infinite light and choosing to return to a world I knew, one filled with challenges and difficulties. I knew my mission was not yet complete. The divine love Jesus taught me, the truths about life, love, and sexuality that He wanted me to share with the world, all of it remained unfinished. Even though I felt guilt, regret, and even fear at the challenge of returning, I realized that my mission was more important than anything. I couldn't give up the opportunity to share this truth with others, so they wouldn't have to face the same struggles I had endured. In deciding to return, I wasn't merely going back to the life I once lived. I felt strongly that I was carrying a special mission. I was no longer just Adrian Blackwood, I was someone who carried an understanding of divine love and God's plan for life, love, and sexuality. I knew I had a role in guiding those who were lost in their lives, those who felt confused, guilty, or unable to find peace. Every step I take, every word I speak, every action I perform in this life carries a profound responsibility, the duty to share the truths I have learned. I feel that I can be a guide for those in need, those seeking meaning in life and healing for the wounds of the soul. What I have experienced is not just a personal lesson, it is a message I must convey to the world, that divine love is not merely a concept, but a force capable of transforming lives. I believe that as I live in alignment with my purpose, sharing the truth about love and harmony with God's design, I will help others find their path, just as I found mine. And no matter how challenging life becomes, I know I am never alone, for God is always by my side, guiding me every step of the way. When I returned to earth, everything seemed to change forever. I carried with me a deeper understanding of divine love and God's plan, but the realities of life were not easy. I began the process of transformation, striving to live according to what I learned from my encounter with Jesus. I returned to a more traditional Christian lifestyle, working to realign my habits, thoughts, and perceptions of relationships and sexuality. Every day, I faced challenges and felt as though I was caught between two worlds. My former life, with its same-sex relationships and my understanding of love, now felt blurry and distant. I felt like I was starting over, confronting old habits and thoughts I couldn't simply let go of. Yet, despite the difficulties, I found comfort in my newfound understanding of love and the purpose God had given me. My inner struggle was not just about changing habits but reconciling my past identity with the new life I had chosen. As a gay man, I had built much of my sense of self around those relationships, and now I faced the question of whether I could accept myself in an entirely new form, one I sometimes barely recognized. Feelings of guilt, fears, and conflicts over my identity kept resurfacing, and I didn't know how to reconcile my past with my present. I began to feel rejection from those around me. Some old friends, who had been by my side throughout my previous life, couldn't understand why I had changed. They saw me becoming different, and it confused them. To them, my same-sex relationships seemed inseparable from who I was. When I started sharing my transformation and the new faith I was pursuing, not everyone could comprehend it. Some friends distanced themselves, unsure of how to handle this change. My family also struggled to accept it. Though they loved me, the traditional values they had instilled in me throughout my life made them feel confused by my choices. I felt as if I were losing an important part of my relationship with them. They didn't understand why I chose a new path, one different from what they had envisioned for me. And at times, I wondered if I would have to sacrifice their love and acceptance to follow the path I felt was right. Still, I realized that this change wasn't just about me, it was also about accepting myself. This struggle was part of my journey to find harmony with God, and I knew that no matter how difficult it became, the truth of the divine love I had experienced would guide me, even if I had to face rejection or challenges from others. After returning from the other side, I felt that I was no longer living for myself but for a greater purpose. My mission now is to help others understand God's plan for love and sexuality, especially those who feel lost within the LGBTQ+ community. I share my story, one of conversion, near-death experience, and transformation with anyone grappling with similar questions about identity, love, and relationships. I know that many in the LGBTQ+ community are searching for comfort, guidance, and understanding, and I want them to know they are not alone. My experiences are a testament that change is possible, and divine love can heal even the deepest wounds. My story is not one of perfection but of transformation, healing, and forgiveness. It is a testament to God's redeeming power, a profound transformation that only divine love can bring. Though I have faced trials, struggles, and moments of doubt, I know that the love I have found will always guide me on this path, a path of truth, love, and forgiveness. My journey proves that nothing is impossible when. Thank you for joining me on this miraculous journey. I hope the near-death stories we've explored together will open up new perspectives on life, death, and the mysteries that we have yet to explain. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next videos, where you'll step into a mysterious world where science and the supernatural intersect. Let's continue to explore and experience things that few dare to believe. Thank you for being with me, and I'll see you in the next video.